Hi, Cancer Rising Sign. Here is your weekly forecast starting on the 2nd of March until the 8th of March. So, the very first stop is Mercury retrograde in your ninth house, making a sextile to Juno in your seventh house. And maybe with your partner, you guys are revisiting a country or a long-term travel plan, or you guys start talking about relocation again. However, if you had a legal matter, especially from last month or 11 months ago, maybe you are going to be able to settle that right now, or we are having a sensible conversation with the partner. Now, the negative side of this could be certain type of rigid rules that the partner kind of comes up with. And maybe you have got a desire to, for a more like go with the flow type of lifestyle. And even though this is a sextile, and then we can come to agreements, but at the beginning we might not be able to. Remember, Mercury is going to be making a third sextile to Juno, and maybe that's when we are soothing things. There could be the miscommunications about a shared belief system, and that could be creating a bit of a temporary cold shoulder in the relationship also. But this is not something that is going to last long because the last sextile should help with that surely. Now, Mars is entering Pisces, and of course, that is another ninth house activation for you. So you can feel a strong urge to travel to a place, for example, near water, a spiritual site, for example, because maybe you want to be uh, kind of go through a renewal. Of course, Mars is your career planet, so maybe you are ready to publish something connected to your career, or you are ready to study something so that finally you can be successful. And maybe you are ready to defend your philosophical belief as well. And even you can defend yourself legally also, and then maybe you're using emotional intelligence to do that. However, this could indicate disagreement over a belief system, something that can become a bit slippery, so just watch out. Something that might not be resolvable through logic. And there could be some travel plans as well that might get delayed. Some type of unexplainable technicality part. Remember Mars rules, tools, and Pisces is often unexplainable. We do have got Sun Palasatinic conjunction happening in your ninth house also. And I can really imagine that you are finding ways to integrate your personal belief with someone or even with a new area of study or travel, or you kind of like finally changing your mind that you want to work with spirituality, or you are going to relocate, or you are going to publish your knowledge. You're going to become kind of like an expert of something. And even legal or administrative tasks and patterns can become clear. The negative side is that you can become very dogmatic, thinking just of the patterns, you think that you see, like the patterns that you see in the world. And this could lead to arguments with someone who has a different view, especially because Mars is co-witnessing this. And then you can be spending way too much time kind of procrastinating a little bit because you want to come up with the perfect plan. But maybe you should be packing the bag already. The very next stop is Bacchus. Bacchus entering your 10th house. So slowly but surely we are shifting into the 10th house from the ninth house, which might be good news for you because obviously the 10th house is angular and there's a lot more action happening there. But on one hand, I can imagine that it's a milestone in your career. And maybe it's just you enjoying finally what you do, and maybe you get positive feedback from others. Um, However, there could be weight of responsibilities also that could be kind of crushing your creative spirit. You know, so it depends, of course, how you feel currently about your own career. Now, this Bacchus is making a conjunction to both Neptune and Saturn as well. So, Bacchus and Neptune is kind of like on the same language because, both of them are kind of like a bit of a drunken moment, being drunk on our achievements, and therefore it can indicate being proud as well. However, Saturn is kind of like nagging it down a little bit. So it says we have to be remaining sober so that we don't get too excited. We need to plan things out. And the very next aspect is Venus, who is making its very last aspect in the sign of Pisces, and that's a sextile to Uranus. And maybe you get an invitation to a party. Maybe you get an invitation from a foreign friend of yours. Maybe finally you are ready to put yourself out there, publicly sharing your vision with others. And maybe you have been studying something and then you were not able to grasp the concept, but all of a sudden we can start seeing the bigger picture. Imagine that you have been using certain type of a software. This could indicate something that might like a bit of a glitch in it there, and that could give you a minor headache. Maybe it's frustrating because it's a busy day and then you would need that particular program and so forth. But again, this could indicate a bit of a debate with a friend of yours as well. It's a sextile, so we are going to be able to explain. We're going to get to the same page. But at the beginning, this could be something frustrating. We also have got Sun in your ninth house, a beautiful trine to Jupiter. And I think it's about confidence for you. I can see my higher purpose. I can see my travel goals. I know that I want to be a teacher. It can feel like I have received a second chance from life, a second chance at a learning opportunity, a second chance at a legal matters as well. And then things can go in your favor. Let's watch out for the optimism, because that optimism can lead you to take an unnecessary risk because you can feel invincible with this too, or we can become preachy to others while you are sharing your personal breakthroughs. And that's super good, is just let others breathe a little bit. Then we have got Venus moving into your 10th house too. And that's really much the weekend. Obviously, Venus is going to run into Neptune and Saturn as well at the same time. And you can really get public recognition for something creative. Venus is the planet of balance. So being recognized to be able to balance something out at work, maybe it's the dream, maybe it's the data, or you are ready to build some professional relationships, for example, we are ready to solidify them. Or if you had certain type of arguments, for example, with a family member, then finally we can come to an agreement. We are coming to an agreement, with some long-term vision. Now, the negative side of this could be that it could feel like that you have to sacrifice your kind of heart, to maintain your reputation, your career status. Or, a boss who gives you kind of like a feedback, and that might make you question your current career path. So don't be disheartened. We should use this Venus to go after something that we desire. And remember that Saturn Neptune says dreams can come true. And last but not least, we have got Hebe. Hebe enters the 11th house. We already have got Cassandra there as well. But I'm going to be making a separate video about that because I forgot to mention that last week. And I think it's an important piece here. But this is about finding satisfaction, to give a helping hand to a social circle, to a friend of yours. Maybe you are hosting a gathering. or you are collaborating with friends on a, kind of earthy project there. Like, let's say we go to a community garden together and then we have got a great time. However, do these friends take advantage of you? Are they taking you for granted? Because you can feel like that you are kind of like a servant rather than, an equal partner. And certain type of social obligations or group gatherings can feel like too expensive, either emotionally or financially. And then we can want to walk out of these. So as you can see this week, Cancer, we've got a ninth, and then slowly we are moving into the 10th house activations. So of course, the ninth house is something to do with your belief system. You're gonna have to believe, for example, in the career that you are going for. You're gonna have to look forward to it. You're gonna have to be optimistic about it. You're gonna have to crystallize a little bit your belief system, but not too rigid. Let's talk to others, and then let's come up with a plan. This is about exploring, having new experiences. Maybe, with that Venus, Juno, Mercury combination, you can even meet a new partner if you want to. And maybe this is also with the Sun and Palasatine, you have to be exploring your talent a little bit. We have to optimize that talent. Maybe we have to just practice our talent a little bit more so that it becomes more profitable because the Sun rules your second house. But it really feels like that you can benefit this week from certain type of social connections. Why? Because I learn from them and they learn something from me as well. So it can lead to, by listening to others, it can lead to certain type of clarities. Now, with that Venus, Saturn, Neptune, I would say that it's all about planning how we're gonna get there. It might be potential that it can be an engagement as well. Saturn rules your relationship department. Saturn disposes Juno in your seventh house too. So there's a lot of relationship energy here. And it could be an engagement or it could be an agreement that we want to be drifting apart from each other. You should know what you want and you should know how to get there. But this is about having to express, your feelings properly and setting boundaries within partnerships also. So, good luck, um, Cancer rising sign, and I will see you next week. Take care. Bye bye.